That is exactly what it looked like when the FedEx guy threw this off his truck onto my yard and then carried it to my house. It was insane. But today we're gonna be looking at the new age pet 4x2 terrarium reptile enclosure. This is the cheapest terrarium you can get on the market. You can't get any cheaper. I have not found one in the United States, that is. We're gonna be judging it by 5 criteria: the look of it, the quality, the screen, the price, the ease of assembly, and then we'll have an overall score. So let's go and test the first one out, and that is the ease of assembly by starting to assemble. So the assembly was really easy. It took me around 20 minutes to put the whole thing together. The enclosure itself is pretty light, but it does still weigh 50 pounds. So it has some weight to it, but compared to some of my wooden enclosures, it's way lighter. It comes in 6 pieces that are all connected with these plastic screws. Now that is one part I will say that I think does worry me, but I have had this tank for 2 years, no issues, and no screws broke so far. But the fact that they are plastic, I feel like isn't very reassuring, but so far, like I said, it has held up. This enclosure also comes with a special tool to tighten the screws. So if you lose that, I don't know how easy it would be to reassemble or disassemble it if you wanted to move it easier piece by piece. But as you can see, it was a very quick and easy setup. I rate the ease of assembly a 10 out of 10. Now let's look at quality. Now the inside is a tad small. Lots of 4x2s are usually 22.5 inches on the inside or even 23 inches wide, like the Dubia Roche's enclosure. But this tank does measure 22 inches widthwise. So it's not as large as some others, but a ½ an inch isn't too big a deal. The height on the inside of the tank is 20 inches tall, and the length of the tank inside is 46.5 inches long. Now the length and the width on the inside aren't that big of a deal, as they're pretty close to all other 4x2s on the market. And I do see a lot of people complaining that the height is shorter than most 4x2s. However, since most people struggle with getting correct basking spots hot enough, I feel like it's not too bad. Again, it's only 3 inches shorter than most others on the market, and a lot of others on the market on the inside measure again, 22.5 to 23 inches tall on the inside. Now, one other thing people ask about is, are there any holes so they can put lights or probes on the inside? No, not at all. And pretty much nothing will fit through the side vents of the enclosure either. And if you need to put a plug on the inside, you could drill a hole on the side or the back of the enclosure and feed the cord through that. Also, if you're wondering about suction cups on the walls, how well do they hold up? I'll show you right now. I'll put a suction cup with a hook on the wall, kind of pull on it, and there you go. So I hope that helps with kind of knowing how it's gonna suction onto the wall. I myself use Govee thermometers, and I use command strips for mine, and they work great. The material is made of an eco-friendly blend of recycled wood and plastic. Now I was worried about what plastic was used, so I found out that it is a polybutyl adipate terephthalate. I think that's how you say it. I don't know, I'll put it on the screen because I don't know if I said that properly. However, it is a FDA food safe plastic for humans, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna be okay for our reptiles. It's also resistant to rot, mold, and insects, so that's a plus. But it still does feel a slight bit like plastic, and in some parts of the enclosure, it feels a little cheap, especially the top corners and borders of the enclosure. The walls and the inside of most of the parts are hollow, so it's not solid, but it still feels solid, if that makes sense. So quality wise, I'm gonna give this a 6.5 out of 10, deducting points for the screws, the top of the border, but also for the large gaps on the inside. You are gonna have to seal this with silicone, but again, most of these build yourself enclosures, you do have to seal anyways, but the gaps are quite large in this enclosure. If you don't seal it and you use substrate, it's gonna pour out of the holes and be a real headache. Now this is what it looks like after I siliconed it, and the enclosure, what it looks like finished. In my opinion, it looks great. I love the style, and I especially love the deep substrate barrier. Now, some people don't like the substrate barrier though, because it's way too high and they can't see their pets if they have it up on a shelf, which I understand. But as someone who loves deep substrate for bioactive tanks and for burrowing species, I absolutely love it. So look wise, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, I know I said I love it, but again, it's not the Mona Lisa. Now, for one of the main things I judge most enclosures on is the screen. This is my pet peeve on many enclosures. The reason? Lighting. Lighting is so important to reptiles and their overall health. I will tell many people, even if you get the wrong enclosure at first, it's not the right size, get the right lighting immediately. And the number one thing that kills lighting and its health benefits to reptiles, screen tops. A lot of screen tops are just way too thick. They block way too much heat, UVB, and make it harder to get a good basking spot for your lizard or snake, turtle, whatever you keep. So this is how I'm gonna test and show you how much the screen blocks the beneficial UVB we want for our animals. Now, a baseline, I will say a good percentage of blockage for most screens is 35% or below. If this enclosure gets below that, if it's 35%, then it's okay. If it's below that, it's even better. I first tested the UVB tube inside the tank right in the middle of it. This one is the T5 Arcadia 14% 24 watt UVB light. That was a lot to say. And as you can see, at 12 inches, I get a reading of 4.3, which is amazing for a Uromastyx and bearded dragon, as well as many other desert dwelling species. Now we get this exact same lamp, take it off the screen, put it in the open with nothing blocking its UVB, and see how much we get. And as you can see, we get this. 6.6 pickup sticks. So if we do some simple math, we get a screen block of 34.9%. Which is right on the edge of a good screen blockage, but it's obviously not the best. And if you're wondering, we can also do this for our heat lamp by using this device right here. This is called a power meter, and it's gonna see how much power the heat lamp is giving us at 12 inches, which is around 510 watts per meter squared. And again, we do the same thing. We take our heat lamp out, and we put it in the open with nothing blocking it, and we see how much power it gives us at 12 inches with no blockage. No screen, we get around 780 watts. So as you can see, we do lose some heat as well with the screen. So if you ever wonder if the screen blocks the heat in UVB, it does. Now another thing I'm gonna rate about this screen is the usable area for lights. This top does have space used by the border, which kind of makes lighting with multiple lights a hassle. Because we lose so much space with the border, I am deducting 1 point for that as well. So overall, the screen gets a rating of 7.5 out of 10. Now, let's talk price. As I said before, this is one of the cheapest enclosures on the market for being a 4 foot by 2 foot. This enclosure fluctuates in price from $200 to $230. Even though it's listed at $400, I have never seen it listed and sold for that price. So price wise, it is the cheapest enclosure on the American market. For it being the cheapest on the market, it's getting a rating of 10 out of 10 for price, as nothing else comes close. Now before we get into the final rating, let's talk about some extras. First, it does come with a door lock for the sliding doors. It's fairly easy to install as well. It has some sticky adhesive you apply to the lock, then you just place that on one of the doors. After that, you install the door first with the lock on it, and then install the next door after that. To lock it, you simply slide this little lock pin into the slot, and bam, it's locked. The enclosure also comes with handles as well. They also come with this little adhesive to apply them to the tank. Now this is very important because I have gotten enclosures that do not come with handles. So this is a big plus for me, especially for the price. Now, if you are wondering what I use in this video to stack them, I'm using a muscle rack from Home Depot. It's the absolute best. I love them. I have the one from Lowe's as well. It's like the same sort of thing, but I don't like it. And I would highly recommend the one from Home Depot. It's way better. Also, this is something I have not tried, but if you notice on Amazon, if you look at this enclosure on Amazon, you might notice it does have an accessory that allows you to stack these enclosures. But just looking at it, I don't know if I would trust it. I've asked many people who own it, and I didn't really ever want to buy it because I kind of thought it looked ugly, so, I'm not going to buy something that looks ugly. However, I'm very curious myself, and if you have it, put it down in the comments, but I always get a 50-50 answer. Some people say it works great, and some people say it does feel like it's about to just collapse and stuff like that. And like I said before, I use the muscle racks, so I can't speak on the quality and safety of the stacker itself. So now that we have used the Chief Suite rating system, we have 5 scores to compare and make an overall score for this enclosure. We have an assembly score of 10 out of 10, a quality score of 6.5 out of 10, look wise of the enclosure 8 out of 10, screen is a 7.5 out of 10, and price is a 10 out of 10. This brings the overall score to 8.4 out of 10. Which honestly is exactly what I rate this enclosure. It's a great enclosure for the price. I own 3 as of right now, and I would definitely buy some more. And if you want to buy one for yourself, I'll have it linked down in the comments and the description. This is how I have one of mine set up right now. This is set up for a Uromastyx, and if you want to see that video, like and subscribe, and I'll post that setup very soon.